presents a reading of articles and features from the USA Today for Wednesday, June 3rd, 2026. Your reader for this hour is Mary Gilmore. We're going to start, on the front page there's a tiny blue octopus that was discovered. It's a cute little thing, little blue octopus, but it doesn't seem to say anything about that on the front page. So I'm going to start with teen summer job outlook is gloomy. Okay, there's 790,000 available jobs predicted for teens across May, June, and July. This number is down from 8,001 last summer. 801,000 from 790,000. We have 790,000 available jobs. There was 801,000 jobs last summer. 5.193 million workers between the ages of 16 and 19 were employed last month, down from 5.487 million in April of 2025, according to BLS data. 33.8% teens are employed, whereas the rate of employment for teens in the 70s and 80s was 50%. Opportunities can be found even though expectations are down. School is almost out for teenagers across the country, and those hoping to land a summer job may have a tough time finding one. Last summer, teen hiring fell to its lowest level in nearly 8 decades of Bureau of Labor Statistics data, and forecasters predict it could be even lower this summer. A Challenger, Gray, and Christmas report predicts American teens will gain 790,000 jobs across May, June, and July, down from 801,000 last summer. With fewer teens already on payrolls heading into the busiest hiring months, the runway for a strong summer is narrower than it has been in years, the report says. Why are hiring expectations low? Teens are facing the same challenging low hiring environment as adult job seekers. While U.S. employers added well over 100,000 jobs in March and April, hiring remains concentrated in select sectors such as healthcare and social assistance, industries not typically known for hiring high schoolers. A few factors are contributing to this low hire environment. The Challenger report identifies 4: rising inflation and oil prices pushing up costs for businesses, self-checkout and automation replacing cashier and customer service roles, competition from older workers seeking out similar jobs, and a smaller teen labor force participation rate. It notes that while the rate was near 50% in the 1970s and 80s, today it's 33.8% as teens pursue sports, academic programs, and other opportunities. Brad Sugars, a business coach and founder of Action Coach, added that as entry-level opportunities decline for recent college graduates, teenagers are also competing with them. That college graduate that would have gone and got the full-time job is now going back into the part-time market, Sugars said. How do trends affect hiring? Corey Katanga, head of economics for the Americas at LinkedIn, explained how the high prices consumers are seeing at gas pumps may affect their teenagers' ability to land a job at their local grocer. You need to get new deliveries of bread, of fruit, of vegetables, and in order to get those deliveries, often they have been driven on a truck, he said. As fuel prices rise, businesses need to make up for those higher delivery costs somewhere. Where do folks cut? They cut in areas where they feel like they have a little bit more flexibility, and that's often younger workers, Kantega said. And businesses are contending with more than just rising input costs. Everything in the economy is connected to everything else. Indeed, senior economist Corey Stahl said, adding that if people are spending more on gas, they may pull back spending at their local ice cream shop. As a business, you look at that and say, that's really concerning. We're not sure if we should hire at the same capacity, Stahl said. Are there still job opportunities? Hiring trends vary by region, and teens may find more opportunities in tight labor markets. Nationally, there are a few bright spots. Employment platforms are seeing increased demand for lifeguards amid a years-long shortage. Contega said this year there also appears to be a growing need for shelf stockers, camp counselors, and restaurant hosts and servers. There's likely to be some opportunities still within retail and hospitality, Kanga said. They're just going to be a bit more targeted, so it's important to know I may not necessarily be able to get that summer assistant manager training role, but maybe that host role is still available. The Challenger report included some tips for teens trying to land a summer role. It advises they start looking now, as June is the most popular month for teen hiring. Tap their friends and families for opportunities, keep their online presence clean, and polish their resumes. College grads who had any work experience on their resume were more than twice as likely to land a job after graduation within 3 months than their peers who didn't, ZipRecruiter economist Nicole Bernard said, adding even first-time job seekers should highlight any work experience they have, a babysitting gig, or if you planned a garage sale for your neighborhood, or anything that can really show organization and communication. Those are the skills that employers are really looking for. I found the article on the tiny blue octopus discovered near Galapagos Islands. The discovery of a new species of octopus that's blue and about the size of a golf ball has delighted marine biologists and the public with its rarity and its big-eyed, cute factor. The octopus was first spotted more than a decade ago, 5,800 feet deep in the eastern Pacific Ocean by remotely operated submersible near the Galapagos Islands off the coast of Ecuador. He's tiny. It's blue, was the reaction of researchers monitoring the submersible exclaimed. Oh, he is cute. He's got big eyes and he's tiny. New octopus species. The celuphod was first seen near Darwin Island during a deep-sea expedition in 2015, but it took years before further studies of the specimen could be done. Its identification as a new species was reported May 26th in the science journal Zootaxa. It has been named Microlodon galapagos, a reference to its island location. The octopus can easily fit in the palm of a person's hand. Its arms are short and it has very few suckers. Instead of dissecting the octopus, researchers used thousands of non-invasive X-ray computed tomography (CT) scans to study it. The scans were used to make a three-dimensional model of the octopus, including its insides. The expedition aboard the research vessel EV Nautilus was a collaboration of the Charles Darwin Foundation and the Galapagos National Park Directorate. The submersible collected the octopus, preserved its body in alcohol and formalin, and sent it to the Field Museum of Natural History in Chicago for study. We only had one specimen, so I didn't want to take it apart, said Janet Voigt, curator emeritus of invertebrates at the museum. Oh, I feel so bad that he is no longer, doesn't look like he's alive because his body's in alcohol and, oh my goodness. Anyways, he was very cute and around the size of a golf ball, which is 1.68 inches in diameter. People who lost jobs over Kirk posts get big payouts. Settlement totaling more than $1.5 million have been reached so far with people who lost their jobs over social media posts that were critical of prominent conservative activist Charlie Kirk in the wake of his assassination. The free speech cases in Florida, Tennessee, and Indiana highlight a growing debate surrounding the First Amendment, political discourse, and social media. It's not surprising to see this flurry of settlements, Aaron Tier, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression's Director of Public Advocacy, told USA Today. I think the size and frequency of these settlements shows that violating the First Amendment is expensive. USA Today reported a little more than 2 weeks after Kirk was killed, at least 50 people had lost their jobs in the education sector alone. A Reuters investigation also found that 600 people were fired across the private sector for posts that they shared about Kirk. Kirk, a prominent conservative activist and founder of the youth organization Turning Point USA, was assassinated September 10, 2025, while answering questions during a campus event at Utah Valley University. His death sparked impassioned responses across the political spectrum. Some lauded the 31-year-old as an almost messianic figure, while others compared him to a Nazi. Many of the posts that criticized or failed to memorialize Kirk were picked up by those on the right and used as fodder in a highly charged culture war. Front and center in that battle was Vice President J.D. Vance, who served as guest host of Kirk's eponymous podcast 5 days after his killing. During the episode, Vance said that people should report anyone who was celebrating Kirk's death to their employer. There have been other events that led to speech-based outrage, including Hamas' October 7, 2023 attack on Israel and George Floyd's murder in 2020. But Tier said what happened in the wake of Kirk's assassination was especially noteworthy because of the government's involvement in many of the cases, which he said escalates the situation. Lawsuits, settlements pile up. In 8 months since Kirk's death, First Amendment lawsuits have piled up across the country, from South Dakota to Florida and Tennessee to Texas. Here are a few of the most recent settlements. Susan Swerk. Ball State University agreed to pay $225,000 to its former health director, Susan Swerk, after she was fired for making a critical social media post following Kirk's assassination, according to reporting from Indy Star, part of the USA Today network. Swerk and the American Civil Liberties Union sued Ball State President Jeffrey Mearns last September in federal court, claiming her firing was a violation of her First Amendment rights. I never regretted the post, Swerk told Indy Star. I have just as much right to say that as anybody else, and I don't regret it because I believe the things that I wrote. Joshua Bleach, one of the ACLU attorneys who worked on Swerk's case, added, if government officials aren't being sufficiently respectful of somebody's First Amendment rights, there's going to come some kind of legal cost. As part of the settlement, Ball State did not admit wrongdoing. In an email sent to university leadership after the settlement was agreed, Mearns stood by his decision to fire Swerk. He said her post resulted in threats to withhold donations and enrollment, and that it was extraordinarily damaging to the university's reputation and exceptionally disruptive to our mission and our people. Brittany Brown. Florida will pay nearly $500,000 to Brittany Brown to settle a free speech lawsuit after she was fired from her state job for a social media post criticizing Kirk after he was killed, per reporting from USA Today. Brown, a biologist who worked for the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, filed a lawsuit after she was fired just days after Kirk was slain. She had reposted another account's post to her private Instagram story. The post that got Brown in hot water read, "The whales are deeply saddened to learn of the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Haha, just kidding. They care exactly as much as Charlie Kirk cared about children being shot in their classrooms, which is to say, not at all." At the time, the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission said Brown's post made light of Kirk's killing. We have zero tolerance policy towards the promotion of violence and hate, and we will not stand for such behavior, the agency said in a post on social media on September 15th. An agency spokesperson declined to comment on the settlement, which included a $485,000 payout to Brown. Gary Edinger, an attorney representing Brown, said the case is the result of Brown's refusal to accept that the government gets to decide which opinions its employees are allowed to hold. These concerning practices underscore the extent to which political pressure from Tallahassee is influencing our state agencies, Brown said in a statement. FWC employees deserve better, and so do Floridians. You're listening to a reading of today's issue of USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 15 minutes after the hour. Larry Bushart. A settlement was reached in the case of Larry Bushart, a former police officer in Tennessee who was arrested September 22, 2025, and charged with making threats of mass violence after posting a photo of a quote from President Donald Trump in the Facebook comments of a local community group page. He was held on $2 million bail for 37 days. The charge was dismissed in late October, and Bushart subsequently filed a lawsuit against Perry County Sheriff Nick Weems and the investigator who secured the arrest warrant. His incarceration caused him to lose his job in medical transportation and to miss his anniversary and the birth of his grandchild, according to his lawyers. On May 20th, an $850,000 settlement was reached in the case in exchange for dismissing the complaint, according to a news release by TAR's organization, FIRE, which represented Bushart. The settlement does not include any admission of wrongdoing on the defendant's behalf. I am pleased my First Amendment rights had been vindicated, Bushart said in the statement. The people's freedom to participate in civil discourse is crucial to a healthy democracy. I am looking forward to moving on and spending time with my family. There are a number of lawsuits related to speech about Kirk's assassination that are still ongoing. FIRE is also representing a state employee whom the Tennessee Department of Commerce and Insurance fired for a comment on a friend's Facebook post saying, "The way you tap dance for white supremacists should be studied." TAR hopes that the settlements reached thus far will deter officials from firing or punishing employees for their speech moving forward, despite political pressure or online outrage. That type of ripple effect would pay dividends far beyond the amounts of these individual settlements, he said. A teachable moment. David Keating, president of the Institute for Free Speech, said the firings and subsequent settlements can perhaps be a teachable moment leading to employers finding a way to publicly distance themselves from employees' controversial speech while defending their First Amendment rights to make such remarks. He said insurance companies oftentimes pay for settlements involving government actors and that he hopes the Kirk-related lawsuits will lead to more constitutional scrutiny when they write policies for those clients. Simply asking those questions might help us gain knowledge on the local level on the First Amendment, which unfortunately seems to be sorely lacking, he said. Speaking more broadly, Keating also referenced Republicans' free speech platform in the 2024 election and noted that many of the Kirk-related speech lawsuits involved public officials in GOP-controlled states. Kirk himself advocated for free speech, Keating said, and Erica Kirk proclaimed that she has forgiven her husband's assassin at his memorial service in Arizona. If she could find the ability to do that, then certainly an elected official can pattern that behavior, Keating said. DNA helps name suspect in a 1983 cold case. Robert Pagborn, was sexually assaulted and fatally stabbed on May 21st, 1983 in Sonoma County, California. Police identified his suspected killer more than 40 years later. California detectives have named a suspect in connection with a cold case dating back over 40 years in which a man was sexually assaulted and stabbed to death. Oscar Bolano, 67, has been linked to the slaying of Robert Pangborn, 31, who on May 21, 1983, was found partially clothed and fatally stabbed in Northern California. Although Bolanos died in April 2026, the Sonoma County Sheriff's Office said DNA has confirmed he is the killer they've been looking for all these years. Investigators with the Sonoma County Sheriff's Office frequently review cold cases, and Pangborn's case was one of them, the office said. The killing happened in Guerneville, California, about 20 miles northwest of Santa Rosa, the sheriff's office said. At the time, detectives collected and preserved physical evidence but were unable to narrow down a suspect. DNA technology was not yet available to law enforcement, the sheriff's office wrote in a news release. Between 2010 and 2023, detectives submitted evidence from Pangborn's case for advanced DNA testing to the Santa Clara County Crime Laboratory and later the Serological Research Institute in Richmond, California. The passage of time has given investigators access to new methods, and in 2024, 41 years after Pangborn's death, DNA linked Bolanos to his case. The sheriff's office did not say whether or not Pangborn and Bolanos knew each other. On May 29th, the office could not answer questions about whether Pangborn was found dead in his home or somewhere else, nor could the office say who found him after the assault and stabbing. Suspect served time for sexual assault of a child after 1983 killing. Bolanos first came to the United States on a work visa in the early 1980s, the Sonoma County Sheriff's Office said in this new release. In 1992, nearly a decade after Pangborn's assault, Bolanos was arrested in Los Angeles County in connection with the sodomization and sexual assault of a juvenile. As part of the 1992 case, his DNA was entered into law enforcement databases, and he served time in state prison for his offenses, the sheriff's office said. Bolanos was sentenced to 3 years for lewd or lascivious acts with a minor under 14 years of age, the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitations confirmed to USA Today. He got 429 days of credit for time served while awaiting sentencing and was released on parole on June 14, 1994, after serving his full sentence. Where has the suspect been all this time? When detectives recently began looking into Pangborn's cold case from 1983, they found out Bolanos was released from prison in 1994 and deported to El Salvador. The detectives contacted the Departments of Justice and Homeland Security as well as the FBI to determine Bolanos' location. They learned he had never returned to the United States after he was deported. Authorities in El Salvador told detectives Bolanos was living near the same village he previously listed on his visa application. The detectives presented the case to the Sonoma County District Attorney's Office so prosecutors could issue an arrest warrant for murder, the sheriff's office said. Sonoma County detectives also worked with federal authorities and the Salvadorian government to have Bolanos arrested and extradited to the United States to stand trial in the Pangborn case. Federal authorities were trying to take him into custody in April when they learned he had been found dead in his home in El Salvador. Investigators learned he had reportedly been battling cancer and appeared to have died of natural causes, the sheriff's office wrote. Although Bolanos will not face prosecution in court, the Sonoma County Sheriff's Office has concluded that the evidence established he sexually assaulted and murdered Robert Pangborn. The office continued. Serena returns to tennis on her own terms. Serena Williams' comeback isn't only for her. Like the returns of Lindsey Vonn, Allison Felix, and so many other women athletes, Williams' announcement that she is returning to competitive tennis at 44 is a reminder to the world that women do not have a use-by date. We can do whatever we please whenever we damn well please, and we will no longer be bound by artificial constraints society tries to impose. We are too old. We can't juggle a demanding career with a family. We need to make way for the next generation. Hogwash. So long as our bodies cooperate and advances in medicine make that more and more likely, women can and should continue doing what brings them joy, especially when they're the best in the world at it. Joint pain, one reason Williams stepped away from tennis. Williams stepped away from tennis in 2022 in part because she and husband, Alexis Ohanian, wanted another child. Daughter Adira was born the following year, and Williams focused on her family and investing in people and ventures who were getting overlooked by traditional forces of funding. But Williams has also been plagued by joint pain, which was bad enough to hamper her training since her first pregnancy. It probably also kept her from winning more Grand Slams. When she began taking a GLP-1 drug, she realized that not only was she losing weight, but the joint pain was disappearing. Much as a partial knee replacement made it possible for Vonn to resume her skiing career, this medical advancement opened the door for Williams to play tennis again. The results are not the only measure of comeback. She wants to play. Maybe Williams will win another Grand Slam. If you think she's only coming back to play doubles at the Queen's Club, you don't know Serena Williams. Maybe she won't. That's not the point. The point is, Williams still wants to play, and that is the reason enough for her and anyone else to keep going. Why not? Williams' older sister Venus said last summer when asked why she was playing again after going more than a year between tournaments. Just the pure fun of playing the game, the fun of the challenge, overcoming. When you play, you overcome so many challenges. Your opponents, the conditions. A lot of times you have to overcome yourself, Venus Williams said. Those things are very exciting. For too long, the shelf life for women has been our late 30s or early 40s, even younger for women athletes. You hit a certain age and the world essentially writes you off. It didn't matter if you had more to give or weren't ready to give up. The world had decided for you that your purpose had been served. But women have stopped accepting a lot of norms lately. We get married, we have children later, or not at all. We demand equal compensation. We refuse to accept that what we do, say, or play has less value simply because we're women. Of course, Serena Williams is going to be part of that revolution. She never let anyone define her. Williams' greatness has never been just about her tennis. She's challenged conventions on looks, body type, race, fashion, and finance. She played with power and strength and was unafraid to show it. She spoke her mind on a variety of issues and would not take less than she deserved. Now she's going to show the world that playing past her 40th birthday was just a warm-up. If you have seen any of the videos of Williams hitting in the last couple of months, it is obvious that she can still play, and play well. It should not surprise anyone if she makes a Grand Slam final this year. Her return is an expression of her passion for competition, Valerie Camilo, chair of the Women's Tennis Association, said in a statement, and I cannot wait to see her face a new generation of top players. Williams has never let anyone define her in anything. She wants to play tennis again, so she's going to. It's a choice she is making rather than one that's being imposed on her. That alone is a victory for Williams and every other woman. You're listening to a reading of today's issue of the USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 30 minutes after the hour. 6 dead after separate shootings in Iowa. A suspected gunman killed 6 people in a shooting spree across a small city in east central Iowa before he was found dead with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound, authorities said. In a news release June 1st, the Muscatine Police Department said it was actively investigating a series of homicides at multiple locations within the city. Muscatine, Iowa, which has a population of more than 23,000, lies along the Mississippi River about 67 miles southeast of Cedar Rapids. Today, I simply do not have the words. This act of evil and what it has done to our community, Muscatine Police Chief Anthony Keyes said at a brief news conference. There is no active threat to the community, he said. After receiving a report of a shooting, police said officers and emergency medical personnel discovered 4 people dead at a residence. In the preliminary investigation, detectives learned that there could be additional victims, and officers found 2 men dead in separate locations. Officers also located the suspect, 52-year-old Ryan Willis McFarland, near the first residence on a trail along the Mississippi River, police said. Preliminary findings indicate the shooting stemmed from a domestic-related dispute, the Muscatine Police Department said in the news release. All victims are believed to be family members of the deceased suspect. The Muscatine Fire Department, Muscatine County Sheriff's Office, Iowa State Patrol, and the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation are assisting local police in the investigation, Keyes said. The police chief noted investigators were still processing the crime scenes and interviewing witnesses. The Muscatine Police Department asked anyone with information on the shootings to contact the department's Major Crimes Unit. At about 12:12 p.m. local time, June 1st, police said the Muscatine County Joint Commission Center received a report of a shooting at a residence near the Mississippi River. Officers responded and found 4 people with gunshot wounds. They were pronounced dead at the scene, police said. After the report of the shooting, the Muscatine County 911 Center and the Muscatine County Emergency Management asked the public at about 12:46 p.m. local time to avoid the area of the riverfront and the river end side of Park Avenue because of an active investigation. McFarland had left the residence before the officers arrived at the scene, police said. Officers found him on the riverfront trail near the pedestrian bridge. He was found with self-inflicted gunshot wound. He was found with a self-inflicted gunshot wound, police said in the news release. Officers and EMS personnel provided medical aid, but he was pronounced deceased at the scene. Further investigation revealed there may have been more victims linked to the case, police said. Officers later found 2 men dead from apparent gunshot wounds. 1 man was inside another residence about 2 miles from the first residence, and another man was discovered at a business near the second residence. Police have not released the identity of the victims pending notification of family members. Now, in the money section of the USA Today, we'll do the 50 states, and our highlighted state is Missouri. Springfield. Women experiencing homelessness in Springfield finally have a dedicated space to turn to for a warm and safe place to lay their heads at night. Crosslines Community Outreach officially opened its new Safe to Sleep shelter space May 28th. The new Ramona Baker Emergency Shelter includes 39 sleeping pods, complete with an outlet, personal light, and a fan, as well as 11 additional emergency beds in case the pods fill up. Although Safe and Sleep has offered shelter in Springfield since 2011, this is the first time the space solely serving women has been a dedicated space. The picture looks very clean and very nice, and everybody has a little private pod. It's open space on top, but at least your little cot is kind of not all in one big room. It's like in little separate booths. Our next is Alabama, Prattville. Prattville Pride's annual festival will still happen in 2026, but not during Pride Month in June when it was originally scheduled. Instead, organizers are planning for some form of a fall event. Alaska. An appeal court ruled that Alaska can publicly release ConocoPhillips exploration well data from the National Petroleum Reserve, overturning a 2023 decision that kept the federally drilled well information confidential, Alaska Beacon reported. Arizona, Tucson, a contractor for a contentious data center project was cited for violating a permit that regulates dust-causing activities and faces penalties of up to $10,000 per day, according to the county code. Arkansas, Little Rock. The University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences has terminated its agreement with Proton International Arkansas after repeated non-payment, with the university's finance chief saying the institution was not adequately compensated for its services, KATV reported. California, Sacramento. Millions of Californians have potentially been exposed to pesticides that are toxic forever chemicals known as per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, according to a new study. The Environmental Working Group analyzed surface water and sediment test data collected by the California Department of Pesticide Regulation and the U.S. Geological Survey and found that multiple agricultural counties have high levels of PFAS contamination. Colorado, Fort Collins. The next step in Poudre Schools District's plans to close an unspecified number of schools to address declining enrollment will move forward, with a recommendation due in October to the Board of Education. Connecticut, Hartford. University's General Counsel Karen Bufkin has been placed on administrative leave pending an independent review tied to Title IX complaint against the former interim chancellor. The Connecticut Board of Regents announced, TNH reported. Delaware, Wilmington. After a funding gap of $185 million for the new terminal port at Edgemoor was revealed in April, Delaware officials and port operators reached an agreement to cover additional costs. District of Columbia, Washington. The man accused of killing a teacher near Catholic University in 2023 will face a retrial in January 2027 after a hung jury and mistrial left his case unresolved, WUSA 9 reported. Florida, Gainesville. Gainesville Planned Parenthood Health Center announced on social media that it will permanently close its doors on June 26 due to low patient numbers. Georgia, Athens. The Indoor Football League announced that Athens will host a professional summer league football team in 2027. Hawaii, Honolulu. Hawaii Democrats have elected Mekhi Freitas as their new party chair at a state convention at the Hilton Hawaiian Village on May 30th, Hawaiian News Now reported. Idaho, Boise. Idaho officials randomly select 8 counties for post-primary paper ballot audits to verify election accuracy, according to the Secretary of State's Idaho Capital Sun reported. Illinois, Springfield. The Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum is unveiling a new exhibit exploring the rise and fall of Reconstruction, a period referred to as the Second American Revolution. The exhibit, which opens June 5th, will trace the efforts to rebuild America after the Civil War and the subsequent backlash that led to the establishment of Jim Crow laws. Indiana, South Bend. Last year, private Christian school Trinity School at Green Lawn underwent a transition after its lease of the Green Lawn campus was not renewed, splitting into two separate and independent schools. The new school that moved into the Green Lawn facility, Trinity Academy South Bend, has seen high levels of teacher and student retention and recruitment this year. The enrollment at Trinity School, which relocated to a historic building on South Bend's west side, decreased considerably during the transition, but school leadership says they're looking to grow over the next few years. Iowa, Ames. The Ames Golf and Country Club has drained its pool to prevent possible irrigation water from entering the system. Kansas, Emporia. Downtown Emporia is a popular place to walk. So are Emporia's Campus Woods Forest and its Cottonwood River Trail, which runs near the river and features scenic spillways. Emporia is the most walkable city in Kansas, according to the website walkscore.com, which gives it a walk score of 45 out of a possible 100. Kentucky, Louisville. Highlands Latin School will continue to maintain a campus at the Crescent Hill Baptist Church for another 7 months, despite a congregation vote last year not to renew the school's lease when it expired in May. Louisiana, Baton Rouge. On-Tap Water Data's ranking of the states with the cleanest and dirtiest drinking water found Louisiana ranked 4th, meaning the state has some of the best tap water. Maine, Bangor. The city of Bangor honored the late civil rights leader and Maine's first black legislator, Gerald Talbot, by dedicating a new trail in his name, News Center Maine reported. Maryland, Baltimore. Baltimore police are cracking down on illegal dirt bike riding by warning gas stations not to fuel the bikes and urging residents to report activity through tip lines, with violators facing fines and possible jail time, WBAL reported. Massachusetts, Cambridge. Harvard University ranks as the best law school in Massachusetts and number 6 nationally, according to the U.S. News and World Report. In total, 8 Massachusetts law schools made that 2026 list. Michigan, Ann Arbor. The city of Ann Arbor wants to give residents money toward the purchase of an electric vehicle amid high gasoline prices. And the plan it is devising is one city leaders hope will inspire other municipalities across the nation to copy. Minnesota, St. Paul. Minnesota led the country in farm bankruptcies during the first quarter of 2026, continuing last year's steady nationwide climb that was particularly steep for Midwest farmers, Minnesota Reformer reported. 8 Minnesota farmers have already filed for bankruptcy this year, double the amount for the entire year of 2024, according to the news outlet. Mississippi, Jackson. Mississippi will receive more than $1 billion from the federal government over the next 5 years to revitalize its waning rural health care system. The problem, state lawmakers have said, is that they have no idea where that money is going. Montana, Tucson. Broadwater County and the Montana Department of Transportation will remove the historic Tucson Bridge next spring, KBZK reported. Nebraska, Lincoln. The Nebraska City Capitol Facilities said turf installation is underway for the redesigned Ronda Reville Field at Bowlin Stadium, KOLN reported. Nevada, Las Vegas. Police said they arrested a teenage girl May 30th after receiving a report that 3 horses were stabbed at the site of a barrel racing competition. Oh, that's terrible. New Hampshire, Portsmouth. The city unveiled a marker commemorating General Lafayette, his contributions to the patriotic effort in the American Revolution, and his visit to Portsmouth as part of the Lafayette Trail 250 initiative that has placed markers in 15 states and the District of Columbia. You're listening to a reading of today's issue of the USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 45 minutes past the hour. New Jersey, Atlantic City. 8 of the 9 casinos in the state, all in Atlantic City, saw a combined 22.6% drop in profit in the first quarter of this year through March 31st. Data released by New Jersey gaming regulators showed. And net revenue was down 0.3% as rising expenses heavily ate into any money the casino might have made. Only one New Jersey casino actually made money this past quarter. The Borgata Hotel, Casino and Spa, according to public filings with the New Jersey Division of Gaming Enforcement, which regulates the casinos. New Mexico, Albuquerque. Pedestrians near the University of New Mexico took part in a guided safety walk on May 30th, helping researchers gather data to develop a national tool that identifies stressful and potentially unsafe walking conditions before crashes occur, KRQE reported. New York, Orange County. The grassroots movement to restart the Beacon-Newburgh ferry picked up support reportedly when the Orange County Industrial Development Agency agreed to kick in $100,000 for a weekend ferry pilot program. But that's still about $100,000 shy of what's needed to run regular weekend trips across the Hudson River between Dutchess and Orange counties, according to Carson Carter, one of the leaders of the Save the Ferry Coalition. North Carolina, Swannanoa. Swannanoa's new U.S. Post Office has finally found its location, according to a social media post from Buncombe County Commissioner Jennifer Horton. The new post office officially will be located out of the old Family Dollar building at U.S. Highway 70 in Swannanoa, Horton said. North Dakota, Fargo. Former North Dakota Senate Majority Leader Gary J. Nelson, a Castleton Republican who served from 1977 to 2001, has died, according to the North Dakota Legislative Council, KVRR reported. Ohio, Columbus. The state of Ohio cut off funding to 10 daycare centers after discovering overpayments of $1 million. Oklahoma City. Will Rogers International Airport in Oklahoma City has announced a new seasonal nonstop flight set to launch in June. The new flight to Baltimore Washington International Airport through Southwest Airlines will run on Saturday starting June 6th and continue through August 1st, according to a news release from the airport. This is the first time Will Rogers has had a nonstop flight to BWI since the beginning of COVID-19 epidemic. Oregon. Kaiser Community Library will become a public library starting July 1st after it was approved by the State Library Board. Pennsylvania, Harrisburg. Pennsylvania drivers need to put down most electronic devices, including cell phones while driving, or risk a $50 ticket starting in June. The written warning period for the new law, which expands an existing text while driving ban in the state, expires June 5th, making a handheld device use while driving against the law and subject to a fine. Rhode Island, Pawtucket. The Rhode Island chapter of the American Civil Liberties Union and the city of Pawtucket have reached a settlement 6 years after the ACLU sued on behalf of a 13-year-old middle school student, alleging that a Pawtucket school resource officer had violated the girl's civil rights in arresting her after a fight. The former middle school student is being awarded $5,000 in damages, and the city has agreed to revise its reporting system to make it easier to track police interactions in the city schools, the ACLU said in a news release. South Carolina, Greenville. A $500 million biotech innovator, GNQ in silico, is moving its North American headquarters and lab to Greenville, the company announced. South Dakota, Sioux Falls. Augustana University recently announced a new partnership with Go Beyond, a nonprofit for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, to collaborate on research and program development to better serve this population and expand resources amid a growing demand for services. Tennessee, Memphis. 2 crime and violent prevention organizations in Memphis will receive part of a $1 million grant to further their efforts to divert youth from crime. Pure Academy and Heal 901 will be splitting the federal funding between themselves, Representative Steve Cohen said. Texas, Luling. Expo Systems said it has certification for end-to-end production operations for 2 manufacturing systems at its Texas facility, a milestone in a Pentagon-backed effort to open more solid rocket motor supply chains. Utah, Salt Lake City. Utah's unusually warm spring, followed by repeated late frosts, has likely wiped out many blossoms and young fruit, leading experts to warn of a statewide fruit famine this year, KSL reported. Vermont, Essex. Lager lovers are in for a treat as Lagerfest returns for its 2nd year, bringing together 25 breweries for a celebration of lager-style beers. The festival is scheduled for June 13th at the Essex Experience in front of Black Flannel Brewing and Distilling, according to a community announcement. Virginia, Chesterfield County. A Chesterfield County police dog was killed. And 2 officers critically injured after they were shot May 31st while responding to what police called a domestic disturbance at a north central Chesterfield residence. Washington, Olympia. The Washington Disclosure Commission's 2 newest members attended their inaugural meeting on May 28th, marking the first time in more than a year that the state's chief enforcer of campaign spending rules operated at full strength, Washington State Standard reported. West Virginia, Bridgeport. United Hospital Center unveiled a $2 million AI-enhanced care unit, the first in West Virginia, designed to let nurses monitor patients remotely and reduce overnight interruptions, WDTV reported. Wisconsin, Madison. Wisconsin teacher unions have seen the nation's largest drop in strength since 2012, according to a new study from the Thomas B. Fordham Institute. The conservative-leaning education think tank ranked Wisconsin 36th amongst 50 states and the District of Columbia for teacher union strength, falling 18 spots from its previous 2012 study. Wyoming, Gillette. Campbell County commissioners have tentatively declined a $25,000 funding request from Gillette Reproductive Health for uninsured women's wellness exams, with a final decision expected after a June 15th public hearing, the Gillette News reported today. Jeep vehicles recalled due to an airbag issue. FCA US is recalling more than 419,000 vehicles because a faulty airbag sensor software issue could delay side airbag deployment during certain crashes, according to a notice on the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration website. FCA US said in the recall report that a software error in the occupant restraint controller module may cause door airbag pressure sensor faults to remain active for the life of the sensor. The recall report also states that the issue could delay deployment of the side airbags during some crashes, potentially reducing occupant protection and increasing the risk of injury. Drivers may not receive any warning before the problem occurs. However, once the fault is detected, the airbag warning light will remain illuminated and a chime will sound during each ignition cycle, according to the report. Here's what to know about the models that are included in the recall and what car owners should do. What vehicles are included in the recall? Approximately 419,035 vehicles are included in the recall, including 2022 through 2026 Jeep Grand Cherokee 100,040 vehicles. 2023 to 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee L 278,905 vehicles. The recall covers vehicles produced between May 16, 2022 and October 9, 2023. What should car owners of the recalled vehicles do next? Dealers will update the occupant restraint controller module software free of charge. FCA US said dealers are expected to notify beginning May 28th, while owner notification letters are expected to be mailed beginning June 11th. Owners may contact customer service at 800-853-1403. 800-853-1403. Vehicle identification numbers, or VINs, for affected vehicles are expected to become searchable on nhtsa.gov beginning May 28th. Auto parts stores offer an array of free services. If you have a car you care for, then you are no stranger to auto parts stores. Whether you choose to stop at Advance Auto Parts, AutoZone, or O'Reilly Auto Parts, they have products for many makes and models. While the prices can vary, there are some free services that are offered by these stores. Here are some of them: battery checkups, diagnosing check engine lights, recycle fluids and old batteries, free loaner tools, paint mixing and matching, and installing windshield wipers and batteries you buy from them. You're listening to a reading of articles and features from the USA Today for Wednesday, June 3rd, 2026, on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. We'll return for more readings after this short break. Your reader for this hour has been Mary Gilmore. Thank you for listening.
You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. As of this year, our agency has broadcast more than 300,000 hours of radio readings. Volunteer radio readers read newspapers, magazines, and books to area people who are blind or have a print disability, who are provided reading radios. Radio Reading's broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Radio Reading broadcasts from studios at 1199 Harlem Road in suburban Buffalo. Please let others know about Radio Reading. It's your service. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call 716-821-5555.
will continue now with our reading of articles from today's issue of the USA Today. Your reader for this hour is David Frothingham. Up now in the sports section, the lead headline reads, "Biggest Bite. Across the Big Apple, fans never get tired of their Knicks, especially in NBA Finals," by Christy Ackert. New Yorkers argue about everything: the best pizza, the best bagel, the best borough. Yankees fans won't sit next to Mets fans at the Subway Series. Giants fans can tolerate Jets fans only because they have the same home in New Jersey. Rangers and Islanders fans split households. But the Knicks? They would make a run in the playoffs, and suddenly this big city feels like they are all one big, loud New York family. That is what's happening now. The Knicks are in the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999, opening Game 1 on June 3rd against the San Antonio Spurs after sweeping the Cleveland Cavaliers and reeling off 11 straight playoff wins. The city hasn't had a moment like this in 27 years, and it shows. Quote, "The Knicks are the one team that makes New York feel like a small town," Mike Greenberg, host of ESPN's Get Up, told USA Today Sports. He's a Greenwich Village kid and a lifelong Knicks fan. Quote, "You always feel you're in the biggest city in the world, like you are in the center of the universe, and the Knicks are the one team that makes New York feel like a small town, because everyone is wearing their Knicks shirts and everyone is yelling 'Go Knicks' in the street. There is just a vibe." Greenberg has spent decades thinking about this. In 2014, when Super Bowl 47 was in the New York area, Greenberg said it was different than any of the other Super Bowls. Quote, "I'd come to Midtown every morning and do my show, and it felt very Super Bowl," Greenberg said of his Mike and Mike ESPN radio show. But the moment I went down to the Village to visit my parents, you would not have been aware the Super Bowl was in New York. I've covered 30 Super Bowls. In every city, the moment you get off the plane, you never escape it. In New York, you would have never known it was in town. But right now, Greenberg said, you cannot walk a block in any borough without knowing what's going on. The Knicks being in the finals is bigger than in New York than the Super Bowl, Greenberg said. Susan Waldman, the voice of the Yankees who covered the Knicks at WFAN for a decade before moving to baseball, has a theory why the Knicks resonate in New York. Every other sport has more than one team, Waldman told USA Today Sports. For a long time, it was just the Knicks. It's the city sport. All you need is a basketball court and a ball. You rarely see an empty basketball court anywhere in the 5 boroughs, and for generations, the people running, coaching, and playing pro ball were from New York. Everyone in the stands when I covered the Knicks for a decade knew a coach, a scout, a guy they played with or against, someone on one of the teams playing. Waldman's point is made by scanning the Spurs roster. Julian Champagny grew up in Brooklyn and played at Bishop Laughlin in Fort Greene before starring at St. John's. Even Dylan Harper, the son of 5-time NBA champion Ron Harper, is something of a local, having grown up over the George Washington Bridge in New Jersey. Harvey Araton, the longtime New York Times columnist, wrote, "When the Garden was Eden," has been thinking about the same question for 40 years. He agrees with Waldman that the Knicks' place in the city's heart is from being the only NBA game in town for so long before the Knicks moved to Brooklyn. But he also thinks it is partly location. Quote, "Football is divided, baseball is divided, hockey is more of a niche sport," Araton said. "But basketball is the city game. The Yankees play the South Bronx, the Mets are out in Flushing, the Knicks play literally in the heart of New York. Penn Station runs right underneath the Garden. It connects everyone to this arena." After the Knicks swept the Cavaliers to clinch their spot in the NBA Finals, fans flooded 7th Avenue. Mayor Zoran Mamdani is planning sanctioned watch parties around the city for every Finals game. For fans like Greenberg, what's at stake isn't just a championship, it's a generational story. He sat next to his father at hundreds of Knicks games growing up. He took his daughter to a game earlier in this playoff run. He'll take his son to a game in the finals this week. Quote, "I've waited essentially my entire life to see one of my teams win a title," he said. "I have no idea how I'll react because it's never happened to me before. I think a lot of Knicks fans probably feel that way." Araton thinks New York City will get a chance to find out. He has the Knicks in 6. The feeling over the next 2 weeks in New York is going to be pretty overwhelming, he said. People are just so hungry. The next headline reads, Young Spurs More Than Wemby by Lorenzo Reyes. Last season, with Victor Wembanyama shut down by mid-February with a blood clot, the San Antonio Spurs lurched to a 34-48 record. Now, just 4 wins away from an NBA title, these young Spurs are on the cusp of recasting the balance of power in the league and announcing itself as a dynastic force. Wembanyama is 22, Stephon Castle 21, and Dylan Harper 20. The average age of the Spurs, 25.06 years old, makes San Antonio the second youngest team to reach an NBA Finals in the shot clock era. Even their head coach, Mitch Johnson, is young. He's 39 and in his first full season on the job. And if he can top the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals, which begin June 3rd, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC, he would become the 5th youngest head coach to win an NBA championship since 1970. These Spurs, it would seem, are ahead of schedule. That has been the predominating thought surrounding San Antonio's ascension, but that framing is too simplistic. Yes, the Spurs are winning as a very young team, but that notion minimizes other qualities necessary in championship teams, qualities the Spurs have: commitment to an identity, maturity, a willingness to adapt, a willingness to sacrifice. Quote, people don't talk as much about the habits, the character, the togetherness, the competitive response, the things we talk about in these media sessions every single day, Johnson said after San Antonio dethroned the Thunder in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. And this team has now been pretty damn consistent for a long time, for over 100 games for the most part. When you look back at how we started the year, how we got to the NBA Cup on the road versus Denver and LA, what we did in the Cup playing the Thunder around Christmas time a few times, expectations. We've played in 3 playoff series at times, without Victor, without De'Aaron Fox, multiple games. I don't know who has as much experience as we do this year in terms of the 2025-26 season, end quote. Whether you subscribe to the notion that this team is ahead of some nebulous schedule, the Spurs are nonetheless favored to win the finals, primarily because of one thing. This team is much more than just Victor Wembanyama. The Spurs showed that in Game 7 when they topped the Thunder 111-103 on their home floor. 7 players reached double figures in scoring, and contributions from all over the rotation predominated. Julian Champagny, who finished with 20 points, dropped 11 in the third quarter. Backup center Luke Cornett, who played 6 minutes, hustled back during a pivotal Thunder fast break to pin a momentum-changing block against the backboard in an eventual 4-point swing. De'Aaron Fox, who was a menace on defense all night and collected 3 steals and later found his shooting stroke. Harper knocked down huge shots down the stretch and scored 12 points off the bench on 5 of 8 shooting. Backup Keldon Johnson, the NBA's 6th man of the year, knocked down 2 massive 3-pointers in the fourth quarter, both of which came when the Thunder had trimmed the deficit to 2 points. And then there's Mitch Johnson, the coach who came up in the organization, who was handpicked to be Greg Popovich's successor. San Antonio has built a culture of hard work and discipline, of growth and learning, of consistency. Wembanyama and Johnson are merely the next stewards of that culture, but this front office recognizes that it's about building a structure and empowering players to own their results. The Thunder are still a force in the West. The Timberwolves with Anthony Edwards and the Nuggets with 3-time MVP Nikola Jokic are always lurking. But first, it's the Knicks who stand in the way of history. And with NBA All-Defensive second-team selection OG Anunoby expected to be the primary defender on Wembanyama, and with Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns leading an offense that has posted the most dominant stretch in league history over any 11-game stretch, the challenge is daunting. Other Spurs will need to step up. Winning the Larry O'Brien is a childhood dream, Wembanyama said after Game 7. Having a real shot at it, having a chance, a tangible chance at winning it, at realizing a dream, it's a lifelong chance. It's a lifetime chance. You never know when it's going to happen again. The day we win it, speaking for myself, it's going to be an amazing day of the realization of a dream. It's hard to put into words. It's almost like the meaning of my life. The next article on the front page of today's sports section reads, Browns are totally nuts for shipping off Garrett, by Jarrett Bell. There's a perfect explanation for trading away Myles Garrett, pretty much the closest thing to Reggie White in today's NFL. The Cleveland Browns are nuts. So what that the Browns got a series rising star in Jared Verse and 3 draft picks, including a first rounder in 2027 from the Los Angeles Rams in return. Is that all? The blockbuster last summer that sent Micah Parsons from the Cowboys to the Packers was supposed to represent the market floor. Dallas got 2 first round picks and D tackle Kenny Clark in sending Micah packing. Compared to that deal, the Browns hardly got enough for Myles, who routinely drew triple teams and still set the NFL season record in 2025 with 23 sacks and won his second Defensive Player of the Year award in 3 years. I mean, start bidding at 3 number ones, plus Verse. And remember, those draft picks have to become draft hits. And with the Rams undeniably in a championship mix, the most premium pick figures to be way at the bottom of the first round. Yet the bombshell on June 1 underscores exactly why one team, the Rams, has been hunting for Super Bowl crowns for the better part of a decade, and the other one hasn't sniffed a championship in several decades. The Browns, who last won an NFL crown with Jim Brown in 1964, are one of the 4 teams that have never played in a Super Bowl. In a weird way, that made Cleveland the perfect trade partner for LA. Yep, the Rams are all in to host another Super Bowl at SoFi Stadium, and the already buffed bid just got a whole lot stronger with Garrett, 30, as the new centerpiece of the defense. Somewhere Deacon Jones, R.I.B., the Rams legend of fearsome foursome fame who coined the term sack, is giving some poor sap a head slap. Rams swing for the fences, Browns do opposite. This is how the Rams do it with their aggressive general manager Les Snead and creatively hyped coach Sean McVay. They push the envelope, swing for the fences, shoot for the moon. The Browns, meanwhile, always seem to be on the verge of ABC, another bad creation. This is the dysfunctional franchise that kicked Baker Mayfield to the curb and traded for Deshaun Watson and gave him a fully guaranteed contract, despite the PR minefield that involved allegations of sexual misconduct by 24 massage therapists. It's the franchise that drafted Johnny Football Manziel, and before that, in the same first round, cornerback bust Justin Gilbert, and way back in 1999, picked Tim Couch over Donovan McNabb. One year, the Browns passed on drafting Julio Jones with the 6th pick overall and traded down for a package of picks that produced nothing special, while the receiver went on to produce a Hall of Fame resume. The franchise also served up since departed Chief Strategy Officer Paul DePodesta, whose Moneyball concepts from his athletic days didn't quite cut it in the NFL. And now they've traded away a generational talent who they had the good fortune of drafting number 1 overall in 2017. Stockpiling for the future provides options, but no guarantees. Brown's history of gloom continues. So if you're wondering why Jimmy and Dee Haslam are probably among the most heavily criticized owners in the NFL, there are the results. 0 division titles, a 5-12 finish in 2025, a revolving door of GMs, HCs, and QBs. Sure, they've tried it a lot of different ways. Todd Monken is the 11th head coach, excluding interims, since the franchise was reborn as an expansion team in 1999. The last season, Shedder Sanders became the 41st quarterback to start for the so-called Brownies during that span. On top of all the coaches, including one-and-done stints from Freddie Kitchens and Rod Chudzinski, and Hugh Jackson's 3-36-1 disaster, the Browns have had 10 GMs since the 1999 reboot, including one, Ray Farmer, who violated NFL rules by sending text messages to the sideline from the press box and is now, incidentally, a personal exec with the Rams. Of course, you can't put the Browns' long history of gloom on Monken, and only so much has come under GM Andrew Berry's watch. Still, it's the Browns. You're listening to a reading of today's issue of USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 15 minutes after the hour. It's no wonder that Garrett came out last year and went public with a trade demand, selling it as a championship mission. The Browns responded by signing Garrett to a 4-year, $160 million extension that made him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Money talks, or lowers the volume. While Garrett had another monster season to go with a fat contract, that champion reportedly restructured the payouts of the option bonuses of Garrett's contract, following the $41 million in dead money to be spread over 2 years, was apparently the type of tweak that would facilitate a trade. And taking his $40 million per year off the books looks good on paper, too. Maybe that seems sensible for a chapter in some NFL Moneyball book, where the equations can be highlighted by color-coded graphs. It's just that some things about the NFL's best defensive end cannot easily translate on paper with analytics. Sure, barring divine intervention, the Browns won't be in the Super Bowl running this season. They've got more ammo to use in the future, and with so many waiting to dismiss Sanders for the role, maybe they'll pursue another franchise quarterback. Blah, blah, blah. We'll see. The Browns have drafted well recently, including second-round selection last year of linebacker Carson Schwesinger, who won NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year honors. Yet to win this deal, the Browns need a few more tens on the picks they've just received, while Verse fulfills his potential and becomes one of the NFL's best edge rushers. Yes, it's possible, but these are the Browns. History is not on their side. Garrett is gone, igniting his championship mission on a new team built for winning big. Too bad he can't take the Browns' misery with him. The next headline in today's USA Today sports section reads 5+5, Key Hurricanes, Knights and Stanley Cup, by Mike Brem. The Carolina Hurricanes have broken through and reached the Stanley Cup final for the first time since coach Rod Brind'Amour was captain of the 2006 championship team. The Vegas Golden Knights responded to a late-season coaching change from Bruce Cassidy to John Tortorella to reach the final for the third time in the franchise's 9 years of existence. They won their second trip in 2023. The series winner will pick up the franchise's second Stanley Cup title. Who will help get them to the top? 10 players to watch in the Stanley Cup Finals, 5 of them from each team. Carolina Hurricanes. Goalie Frederik Andersen. He had a middling season, and Brandon Bussey played 4 more games and had 15 more wins than Andersen. Brind'Amour went with the veteran goaltender, and he has turned things around with a 12-1 record and 1.44 goals against average. Andersen was one of the first clients of Claude Lemieux after the 4-time Stanley Cup winner became an agent. He said after Lemieux's May 28 death that he wants to make Lemieux proud. Defenseman Jacob Slavin. He's considered a top shutdown defenseman, which is why he was named to Team USA at the 4 Nations Face-Off and Olympics. He was injured during the early part of the season, which explains why Golden Knights were able to score 10 goals against the Hurricanes in 2 October wins. He'll be key to helping limit a deep Vegas team. Forward Logan Stankoven. He was the key piece in the return when the Hurricanes traded Mikko Rantanen to Dallas last season after acquiring him early in the season. The 23-year-old has taken a big step, recording his first 20-goal season and leading the team with 9 playoff goals on the red-hot second line. Forward Taylor Hall. Hall came over in the first Rantanen trade from the Chicago Blackhawks as part of a 3-team deal. The 2010 number 1 overall pick was a Hart Trophy winner in 2017-18, but his play has dropped off before the trade. He has found his game on a line with Stankoven and Jackson Blake. Hall leads the Hurricanes with 16 points. Forward Sebastian Aho. He has only 4 goals and 7 points in 13 games after averaging a point per game in the regular season. The second line has been carrying the Hurricanes, and they'll need more offense from the Aho-led first line if they are going to beat the Golden Knights. Others to watch: Seth Jarvis, Andrei Svechnikov, K'Andre Miller, Jordan Staal. Vegas Golden Knights. Forward, Mitch Marner. The Toronto Maple Leafs never got out of the second round and rarely out of the first during his tenure there. He received part of the criticism. Joining the Golden Knights in a sign and trade, he's not only in the fourth round, he's leading the playoffs in scoring with 21 points. Forward, Jack Eichel. Coach John Tortorella calls him the best 200-foot player in the NHL. The center was used against Nathan MacKinnon in the conference finals sweep of the Colorado Avalanche. In addition, Eichel is second in playoff scoring with 18 points and helped the USA win the Olympic gold medal. Forward, Pavel Dorofeev. He's tied for the NHL lead with 10 goals, with 4 of those coming on the power play. He will be a restricted free agent at season's end and due a big raise after scoring 35 and 37 goals in the last 2 regular seasons. Forward, Mark Stone. The Golden Knights are so deep that the skilled Stone plays on the third line. The winger is a former Selke Trophy finalist and also has 4 power play goals. Injuries are a problem, and he was out for part of the playoffs. The Golden Knights were much better when he returned. Defenseman Shea Theodore. He's averaging more than 25 minutes a game, the most of any player in the series. The former Anaheim Duck leads Blue Liners with 11 points and has a series-high 46 block shots. He'll be responsible for helping the Golden Knights escape the Hurricanes' relentless forecheck. Others to watch: Carter Hart, Ivan Barbashev, Brett Howden, William Karlsson. The next headline on this page of today's sports section reads, MLB Players Union Rejects Salary Cap, by Bob Nightingale. Major League Baseball players will be taking a $500 million pay cut, with portions of their contracts becoming non-guaranteed if they accepted MLB's proposal for a salary cap. Bruce Meyer, interim executive director of the MLB's Players Association, said June 1st, quote, "That's something this union has fought against for decades, based on our belief that it's bad for players at all levels," Meyer said, explaining the union's strong opposition to the concept. And not just monetarily, bad for freedom, bad for competition, eliminates truly guaranteed money. Bad for the fans, in our view, bad for the players at every level, particularly bad for the middle class. Fundamentally, that system is anti-competitive. It's a form of institutionalized collusion, end quote. When asked how to convince MLB owners, who were set to begin a quarterly meeting June 2nd in New York, the union would never cave in to the owners' attempt for a potential lockout and would resist a salary cap like the NFL, NBA, and NHL, he reaffirmed the union's strength. Our union has never been broken, Meyer said. It never will be. So you can take away a different lesson from our history, but that would be a big mistake. Our players have what they have, including being the only sports that doesn't have this ultimate restriction, a salary cap, because our players have always been the most unified, and that's going to continue. Meyer, speaking publicly for the first time since the union and MLB exchanged proposals last week, said that he and the players were bitterly disappointed in the MLB's initial offer, which did not address items such as free agency, minimum salary, salary arbitration, or the draft. The proposal, he said, is worse than the one the MLB offered in 1994 before the sport endured the longest work stoppage in MLB history, 232 days, canceling the 1994 World Series. Very surprised, he said. I thought they would try harder to make it look good, and they didn't even do that. While MLB proposed a $245.3 million salary cap, along with a $171.2 million payroll floor for teams, Meyer said the numbers were misleading considering it didn't include benefits and amateur signings. While it included a promise of a 50-50 revenue sharing split, Meyer says that the players already are receiving more than 50% of the revenue now. So why would they accept a reduction that includes an escrow account which could reduce pay if revenue doesn't meet projections? He cited the NBA players as having to return nearly $500 million last year when the league didn't meet their revenue projections. Major League Baseball wasted no time disputing Meyer's claims, issuing a release within 45 minutes of Meyer's press briefing. Quote, "Our salary cap and floor proposal addresses our fans' concerns by leveling the playing field while sharing baseball revenue with the players 50-50 like the other leagues," MLB spokesperson Glenn Kaplan said. "Under our proposal, Major League players will receive more compensation in year one of the system than in 2026. We are ready to listen if the MLBPA wants to counter our proposal at the bargaining table." The massive disparity in MLB isn't because of the Dodgers and Mets payrolls, Meyer insists, but from teams that receive monies and revenue sharing but refuse to use it for their payroll. Quote, "Our proposals are designed to reward and incentivize competition," Meyer said. In other words, to get clubs, their owners who are choosing not to compete, and that will benefit players and fans. We believe that will be the single best change that could be made to benefit fans, incentivize and reward teams that are actually using revenue sharing money and other forms of subsidies for the purposes for which it was intended, namely, to put a better product on the field and not to put it in their pockets in the form of profits. Meyer cited Padres, who reside in one of MLB's smallest markets, who increased their payroll to the third highest in MLB 3 years ago and now have the second largest attendance in baseball with a perennial playoff team. Quote, "We want to encourage more San Diegos," Meyer said. "San Diego is a small market team that went out, decided to compete, signed a lot of players, turned around their franchise. They've grown attendance, they've grown interest, and we've all seen the explosion of their franchise value." The Padres were recently sold for $3.9 billion, the highest franchise sale in MLB history. While a small market team hasn't won the World Series since the Kansas City Royals in 2015, Meyer pointed out that the Milwaukee Brewers, who reside in MLB's smallest market, won the most regular season games in baseball last season before being swept by the Los Angeles Dodgers in the National League Championship Series. The small market Cleveland Guardians and Tampa Bay Rays have also ranked among the top teams in regular season victories in the last decade. Quote, every team now has the ability to put a competitive team on the field," Meyer said. "Every single one has the ability to do what the Brewers are doing, what the Padres have done, or what Tampa has always done." The Players Union and MLB have yet to schedule their negotiating session, but both sides say they likely will meet soon to at least address non-economic issues, with flickering hopes of still reaching an agreement before their CBA expires December 1st and a pending lockout. Quote, "Hopefully everyone is thinking rationally, and at the end of the day, we will make a deal," Meyer said. "I don't know what it's going to take, but we have to deal with each other." Quote, "I wouldn't be optimistic expecting an early deal, but on the other hand, you never know. You never know." The next headline on this page reads, "Linsanity coming to ESPN's Finals Studio" by Danielle Lerner. Jeremy Lin couldn't have timed it better. This week, the player responsible for perhaps the NBA's most potent cultural phenomenon is stepping into a new broadcast role while the iconic franchise linked to his fame is competing for an NBA championship. Lin, whose memorable play for the New York Knicks during the 2011-2012 season sparked the international Linsanity craze, is joining ESPN's NBA Finals coverage as an analyst. He will appear on NBA Today, SportsCenter, and possibly other network programs through the duration of the Knicks-Spurs series. He makes his debut June 3rd on SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt live in Washington, D.C. And yes, Lin told USA Today Sports in an interview on June 1st he is excited to see his former team 4 wins away from an NBA title. "I've always felt like Knicks fans deserve the best performances. They're so passionate," Lin said. "And as cool as it was for me to give good performances only for that stretch of time, I genuinely wish that I was able to do more. I genuinely wish that I was able to stay longer, genuinely wish that I could have a lot more success and done things in the playoffs for the Knicks, but that never came to fruition, end quote. Lynn played in the NBA for 9 seasons, including 2-year stints in Houston and Brooklyn as part of Toronto Raptors Championship 2019 season. But he remains best known for his lone season with the Knicks. Current Knicks center Karl Anthony Towns, who grew up in New Jersey, even credited Lynn for influencing his Knicks fandom. Lynn helped the Knicks turn around their season in February 2012 when he joined the starting lineup and led the team on a 7-game winning streak while star Carmelo Anthony was out injured. The Knicks made the Eastern Conference playoffs, but, with Lynn injured and unable to play, were eliminated in the first round. Quote, I don't think people understand the agony, putting in that much, having the team be able to turn around and really find a good rhythm, and then not to be there for the most important games, Lynn said. It was really hard for me not to be out on the floor. I know that there were some reports at that time, but the reality was I was doing everything I could to try to get back and contribute, and I wasn't able to do that. End quote. Lynn went on to play in the NBA playoffs in 4 seasons for 3 teams, and he said he plans to lean on that experience in his analyst role with ESPN. Quote, the goal for me is really how do I bring my previous experience and distill the complexities into something simple and digestible for the fans, Lynn said. And that's not just the successes. It's the failures of multiple first-round exits before I was able to be a part of a team that was able to win it all. And seeing what worked, what didn't work, or what was the differentiator in getting us over the top, those are the things that I want to talk about, end quote. The whole idea of TV came out of left field for Lynn, who said that while playing, he never contemplated a broadcast career. But last season, after Lynn returned from playing basketball in China and decided to retire, he wanted to figure out his next steps. This March, Lynn made a guest analyst appearance on NBA Today, which he said was effectively a 3-day trial period. He wanted to find out whether he was passionate about broadcasting and whether a network would give him the chance. His analytical breakdown of Luka Doncic's isolation play was well received by viewers and answered his own questions. Quote, I'm less of the super hot take, loud persona, Lynn said. I try to be somewhat even-keeled. I even try to be educated, and I try to be uplifting, even if I have to criticize. Lynn said he's learned that broadcasting is harder than it looks, and he wants to do it anyways. Although his current agreement with ESPN is only through these finals, he hopes to continue his broadcasting career afterwards. You're listening to a reading of today's issue of USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 32 minutes after the hour. On the next page of today's sports section, the headline reads, under the WNBA Power Rankings banner, the headline reads, Off-Season Ads Make a Contribution by Megan L. Hall. Championships aren't won during the off-season, but adding the right pieces can help. The Atlanta Dream sent shockwaves through WNBA circles by trading for Angel Reese, and her acquisition wasn't the only splash of an action-packed off-season. The Las Vegas Aces needed Shanadi Carter, and multiple teams doled out million-dollar contracts to newcomers. Who are the best off-season acquisitions for each team? USA Today breaks it all down in this week's WNBA Power Rankings. The Minnesota Lynx take over the top spot as multiple teams move up and down the rankings. The Connecticut Sun continue to sit at number 15 in the USA Today Sports Power Ranking. Note, all records and stats are through games played on June 1st. Number 1, Minnesota Lynx, 7-2. Previous rank, 5, up 4. Top acquisition, F. Natasha Howard. Without Nafisa Collier, who continues to rehab from ankle surgery, Howard has stepped in and become the team's leading scorer, 17.3 points per game. Minnesota is riding a 4-game winning streak, and during that same period, Howard has put up 2 20-point performances, including 26 points on 73.3% shooting, 14 rebounds, and 5 assists May 23rd against the Chicago Sky. Number 2, Atlanta Dream, 5-2. Previous rank, 2. No movement. Top acquisition, forward Angel Reese. Reese's integration to the Dream's system has been pretty seamless. The Dream forward is second in the WNBA in rebounds per game, 11.0, and has 4 double-doubles this season. She also recently reached 900 rebounds in 71 games, the fastest in WNBA history. Dallas Wings, 6-3. Previous rank 6, up 3. Top acquisition, forward Jessica Shepard. Shepard is currently averaging career high in points, 13.0, rebounds 11.4, and assists 6.5 per game. She leads the league in rebounds per game and has already notched 2 triple-doubles this season, including a sensational 22 points on 61.5% from the floor, 20 rebounds, and 10 assists against Las Vegas to close out in May. Number 4, Las Vegas Aces, 5-3. Previous rank 1, down 3. Top acquisition, guard Chennedy Carter. Perhaps no one has a bigger jump start on the early 6th Player of the Year race than Carter, who has 4 20-point games off the bench for the Aces. She is averaging 17.5 points per game, firmly second in scoring for the Aces behind Asia Wilson. Number 5, Golden State Valkyries, 5-3. Previous rank 4, down 1. Top acquisition, forward Gabby Williams. Williams is a connector on both ends of the floor, and she's more than proved it in her first season with the Valkyries. Guard Veronica Burton and Williams are evolving into a nice 1-2 punch. In her last 3 games, Williams is averaging 18 points per matchup, 4 rebounds, 2.6 assists, and 2.5 steals. Portland Fire, 6-4. Previous rank 10, up 4. Top acquisition, guard Carla Lady. Lady has shown zero fear and delivered in big moments, whether it's the dagger shot over the New York Liberty or driving directly to the cup against Caitlin Clark. Lady is ready for the challenge. After spending a season in Golden State, Lady has found her footing with Portland while averaging career best numbers in points, 15.9, assists, 5.0, and field goal percentage, 48.1. Number 7, New York Liberty, 5-4. Previous rank 7, no change. Top acquisition, guard Marine Johannes. Johannes rejoined the team this offseason and hasn't missed a beat. She's filled in fairly well for Sabrina Ionescu, who has been in and out of the lineup with injuries. Known for her electric 3-point baskets, Johannes leads the league in total shots behind the arc line with 29. Number 8, Toronto Tempo, 5-4. Previous rank 11, up 3. Top acquisition, guard Brittany Sykes. Sykes is having an early breakout for the Tempo as she settles in with her new franchise. She is averaging a career-high 19.9 points per game and has only had 1 game where she has scored less than 10. The best matchup of her Toronto tenure came against the Sparks on May 17th, when she scored 38 points and tallied 3 steals and 1 block. Indiana Fever, 4-4. Previous rank 3, down 6. Top acquisition, forward Monique Billings. Billings hasn't quite reached the double-digit scoring the Fever likely need her to average. However, she's shown flashes of what she can do, including being disruptive on both ends. Her best stat lines have been 2 near double-doubles, including 10 points, 9 rebounds, 3 steals, and 2 blocks against the Mystics on May 15th. Los Angeles Sparks, 4-4. Previous rank 8, down 2. Top acquisition, forward Nneka Ogwumike. Ogwumike, returning to Los Angeles, has paid dividends for the Sparks. She's been a welcome extra scoring presence in LA's lineup and is shooting an efficient 53.2% from the field, while averaging close to 16 points and 7 rebounds per game. Number 11, Washington Mystics, 3-4. Previous rank 14, up 3. Top acquisition, forward Michaela Onyenwere. Onyenwere has played 3 games for Washington due to injury, so the verdict is still out on her overall impact. However, at 26, she's one of the foremost veterans on the team, and such a young squad will need that experience down the stretch. In her 3 games, Onyenwere is averaging roughly 8 points, including 14 points on 50% shooting against Seattle on May 27th. Number 12, Chicago Sky, 3-5. Previous ranked 9, down 3. Top acquisition, forward Rickey Jackson. Jackson isn't playing anymore this season after suffering an ACL tear. However, her impact on the Sky is undeniable. Since Jackson exited the lineup, Chicago has yet to win a game. She was averaging a team-high 18 points per game while putting up 1.8 blocks per contest, tied for the team lead with center Camila Cardoso. Number 13, Seattle Storm, 3-7. Previous rank 11, down 2. Top acquisition, Natisha Heidemann. Heidemann is having one of the best starts to her career as she leads a young Seattle team. The former Lynx guard, who has now transitioned into a starter for the Storm, is averaging a career-best 13.6 points and 4.1 assists per matchup. Number 14, Phoenix Mercury, 2-8. Previous rank 13, down 1. Top acquisition, guard Giovanna Nogic. The Mercury are the lone exception to this week's power rankings, as every other key addition has been a veteran. It's nearly impossible not to notice the historic tear Nogic has been on. She introduced herself to the league with a 19-point debut and kept going with 27 points against Chicago on May 15th. With 25 made three-pointers this season and 13.3 points per matchup, she leads all rookies in made shots behind the line and is second in rookie scoring. Number 15, Connecticut Sun, 2-8. Previous rank 15, no change. Top acquisition, center Brittany Griner. Griner has been the Suns' best offseason acquisition. The Sun center leads a youthful Connecticut team in scoring 13.5 points per game and is tied for second in minutes, 24.3. At 35 years old, she is still writing her name in the record books and recently became the 18th player in the WNBA history to score 6,000 career points. Next headline in today's sports section is Texas Tech, Texas, to meet in Women's College World Series Final by Mitchell Northam and Sydney Henderson. Two teams remain in college softball for the 2026 season. In a rematch of last year's final, Texas Tech and reigning champion Texas will play in a best-of-3 series to determine the sport's champion in Oklahoma City. The first game of Women's College World Series Finals begins on June 3rd, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, ESPN. The Longhorns are back in the championship series after beating Tennessee twice June 1st, outscoring the Lady Volunteers by a combined score of 9-2. Texas Tech had to win twice Monday, too, getting a walk-off home run from Mia Williams in Game 1 over Alabama. Then scoring just enough to support Nijari Kennedy's stellar pitching in Game 2. 8 teams entered the Women's College World Series when the greatest show on dirt arrived in Oklahoma City on May 28th. Now, only the Longhorns and the Red Raiders remain, the winners and losers of the action we've seen so far at Devon Park. WCWS winners. Texas first baseman Katie Stewart. Katie Stewart has established herself as one of the best bats in the Longhorns lineup. She played a crucial role in securing the pair of wins over Tennessee on Monday that sent Texas to its third consecutive WCWS finals, homering in both games. Stewart, a junior from Frankfort, Illinois, is hitting .429 on the season with 30 home runs, 77 RBIs, and .989 slugging percentage. Stewart's home run total is a single-season record for the Longhorns and is a big reason why they're eyeing what would be their second national championship. Texas Tech pitcher Nijari Kennedy. After a few rocky appearances, the Texas Tech ace shined in the biggest moments as her team faced elimination. She got the game-winning strikeout on Sunday against UCLA, struck out 4 batters in the Red Raiders' first matchup against Alabama on Monday, and then pitched a nearly flawless Game 2, striking out 6 batters while allowing 1 hit and 1 walk in a complete game shutout. Pitching in the WCWS for the 4th and final time in her career, the highest paid player in college softball has saved her best stuff for the biggest stage. WCWS losers, the Big Ten. When NCAA's softball tournament began, the Big Ten seemed to have two legitimate contenders for the national championship in Nebraska and UCLA. The Cornhuskers had the best two-way player in the sport in Jordy Fromm, who powered them to a Big Ten championship. The Bruins featured the most explosive offense in the nation, with Megan Grant and Jordan Woolery anchoring the lineup. You're listening to a reading of today's issue of the USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 45 minutes after the hour. Both teams had the opportunity to upset the status quo of the sport being dominated by teams from the South. Between 2006 and 2011, teams from the old Pac-12 won 6 consecutive national championships. But since then, UCLA's 2019 squad is the only team from outside the South that has won it all. That trend will continue this year as the Cornhuskers and Bruins were eliminated on Sunday. The Big Ten has not won a national title in softball since Michigan in 2005. Tennessee. The Lady Vols were knocking on the door of their third WCWS championship appearance in program history. After opening the Women's College World Series with a win over the defending champion Longhorns, and then walking off Texas Tech in extra innings, Tennessee was flying high into Monday's national semifinal matchup against Texas. Tennessee needed one win to advance to the championship series, while Texas would have to defeat them twice. With the number one pitching staff in the nation on its side, Tennessee head coach Karen Weekly opted to flex the Lady Vols' depth in the circle and stash ace Carlin Pickens for an if necessary Game 2. Texas went on to force a winner-take-all game, and Pickens couldn't hold the Longhorns off. UCLA utility Megan Grant. It's hard to believe Grant and loser in the same sentence. It's hard to have Grant and loser in the same sentence. After spending a portion of the season with the national championship UCLA basketball team, Grant went on to set a single-season NCAA record with 42 home runs. The records didn't stop there. UCLA obliterated nearly every offensive category and set NCAA single-season records for home runs, 209, runs scored, 672, RBIs, 643, total bases, 1,408, and extra base hits, 334 in 63 games. However, UCLA's record-breaking season fell short. The Bruins rallied in the bottom of the 7th to force extra innings against Texas Tech at the WCWS on Sunday behind a Jordan Woolery two-run home run, but Bruins magic ran out in the elimination game. UCLA lost 8-7, but the Bruins season will be remembered. Moving on to the life section of today's USA Today. The lead headline reads, "Celebrate Beach Season with a Bucket of Good Shows," by Kelly Lawler. Summer 2026 will be full of vampires, dragons, frontiersmen, superheroes, and President Barack Obama. And that's just on your TV screens. Yes, as temperatures heat up around the country, so are all the TV shows available for you to watch, and it'll be a summer full of heavy-hitting returning shows, such as House of Dragon, The Bear, and Ted Lasso, as well as exciting new series eager to become the next cultural darling, from a Legally Blonde prequel to a familiar Prairie Set reboot. We've rounded up the 10 shows you won't want to miss this summer, whether you're inside trying to beat the heat or looking for something breezy to watch on your beach weekend. There's something up for everyone on our list. The Vampire Lestat on AMC, June 7th, new episode Sundays, 9 p.m. A rebrand of Interview with a Vampire to indicate the change in main character. Lestat continues the story started in the steamy AMC series starring Jacob Anderson and Sam Reed as the vampires Lewis and Lestat, respectively. The first 2 seasons were told from Lewis's point of view, but now the camera flips to the punk rock Lestat and Reed's hot and heavy depiction of the blonde creature of the night made famous in Anne Rice's novels and the 1994 film adaptation played by Tom Cruise. The series, which has a rabid fan base, promises more of the melodrama, blood, sex, and outbursts from the interview seasons in the Lestat version. House of the Dragon, Season 3, HBO. June 21st, new episodes Sundays, 9 p.m. Get ready for civil war in Westeros. After 2 seasons of build-up, with a battle here and a battle there, HBO's Game of Thrones prequel, House of the Dragon, is letting its dragons loose in Season 3. The warring factions of the silver-held Targaryen clan, led by Rhaenyra, Emma Darcy on Team Black, and Aemond, Ewan Mitchell on Team Green, finally are fully stocked with armies and fire-breathing weapons of mass destruction, and ready to fight for the Iron Throne. The 3rd season will set up the long game for the series as it gets bloody, muddy, and deeply political. The Bear, Season 5. All episodes June 25th. Get ready to say yes, chef, one last time. FX and Hulu's culinary phenomenon is returning for a 5th and final season. We as viewers have been along for the ride with Carmi, Jeremy Allen White, Sydney, A.O. Edebiri, Richie, Ebon Moss Bacharach, and the rest of the kitchen staff of The Bear and the Beef restaurants for 5 years, and it will be oh so hard to say goodbye. The series left off with Carmi trying to turn over his ownership of the restaurant and retire, as he reckons with what his profession and the frenetic pace of restaurant life has done to his mental health. The restaurant's financial backing is also in question, as all the characters come together to try to fix the unfixable and solve problems that never end. Fans can only hope there might be some way to eke out a happy ending in the notoriously stressful show. Life, Larry, and the Pursuit of Unhappiness, HBO. June 26, new episodes Fridays, 9 p.m. Dubbed as an almost history of America, Larry David goes for broke in his first post-Curb Your Enthusiasm project in terms of celebrity collaborators. Does it get bigger than a president? Former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama combined forces with David for a project sort of celebrating the United States 250th anniversary this July 4th with this 7-episode comedy series. Details have been kept mum, other than the show will include select Curb Your Enthusiasm actors and noteworthy guest stars. We're picturing something like Drunk History crossed with Seinfeld. Could be great, could be a train wreck. It will certainly be worth watching. Elle, Prime Video, all episodes July 1st. They're making a Legally Blonde prequel? What, like it's hard? Elle Woods, the golden blonde Valley Girl protagonist of the 2001 blockbuster movie, is back, this time as a teen. Produced by the character's originator, Reese Witherspoon, the 1990s period piece follows a young Elle, portrayed by newcomer Lexi Minettree, in high school. Bruiser the dog will, of course, be there too. Silo, Season 3, Apple TV. July 3rd, new episodes streaming Fridays. Apple TV's fantastic sci-fi dystopian thriller returns for a 3rd season, and it already has been renewed for a 4th and final installment. Based on the book series by Hugh Howey, the show takes place in a silo-shaped bunker underground holding 10,000 people, centuries after some kind of world-ending event. The first 2 seasons followed the rumblings of rebellion within the silo as citizens questioned their secretive government and what happened that drove humanity to the buried refuge. Rebecca Ferguson returns as Juliet after a cliffhanger at the end of Season 2. New faces include Jessica Brown Finley, Downton Abbey, Colin Hanks, Jessica Henwick, Vladimir, and Ashley Zuckerman, Succession. Little House on the Prairie, Netflix, all episodes July 9th. Ready for a sun-dappled dose of nostalgia? Netflix is bringing us a shiny new version of the classic 1974 to 1983 NBC series, also based on Laura Ingalls Wilder's iconic semi-autobiographical books. The new Prairie is comfort watching served in a bonnet and stockings. The cast is a group of mostly unknown actors who may just make their mark with these high-profile roles. 5-Star Weekend, Peacock, all episodes July 9th. If we were giving out superlatives for summer TV shows, we'd call Peacock's new Ellen Hillenbrand adaptation most likely to be watched at the beach house. A gauzy, dreamy melodrama about a widow trying to take back control of her life by bringing four friends from different ages and stages together for one weekend in Nantucket. Of course, lessons will be learned along the way. The cast for the series is stacked, including Jennifer Garner, Darcy Carden, Gemma Chan, Regina Hall, Chloe Sevigny, Harlow Jane, and Timothy Oliphant. Ted Lasso, Season 4, Apple TV. August 5th, new episodes streaming Wednesdays. He's back, with biscuits but not tea in tow. Apple TV's massively popular Ted Lasso, about an American football coach drafted to lead a British soccer team, seemingly was all done with the conclusive Season 3 finale episode in 2023. But the Jason Sudeikis starring sappy comedy is coming back, thanks to the pure willpower of a streaming service in desperate need of an all-around hit. The new season will focus on Ted coaching a women's team for Richmond. Returning cast, other than Sudeikis, will include Juno Temple, Hannah Waddingham, Brett Goldstein, Brendan Hunt, and Jeremy Swift. New players in the field in Season 4 include Tanya Reynolds, Jude Mack, Faye Marcy, Rex Hayes, Aisling Sharkey, Abby Hearn, and Grant Freely. Several supporting characters from the first 3 seasons of Lasso, such as Nick Mohammed's Nate and Phil Dunster's Jamie Tart, have not been announced as part of the Season 4 cast. Lanterns, HBO Max. August 16th, new episodes streaming Sundays. It wouldn't be summer without a visit from some superheroes. HBO Max has a new series based on the DC Comics Green Lantern characters, but it doesn't look a thing like the much-maligned Ryan Reynolds' Blake Lively film adaptation from 2011. In fact, you might think you're not looking at a superhero show at all, but rather a neo-noir mystery or modern western by the dusty looks of the series. But we're still talking about aliens, good guys, bad guys, and lanterns, which stars Kyle Chandler and veteran Green Lantern hero Hal Jordan and Aaron Pierre as whippersnapper John Stewart. The new two work together to solve a mystery in America's heartland that is part of a wider DC universe of films. Nathan Fillion's Lantern hero Guy Gardner will also reprise his role from the 2025 box office hit Superman. You've been listening to a reading of USA Today for June 3rd, 2026. We read the USA Today weekdays at noon. For more information, call us at 716-821-5555. Your reader for this hour has been David Frothingham.
Coming up next on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have episode number 8 of 1929 by Andrew Ross Sorkin. Following that at 3 o'clock is Healthy Living, and at 4 o'clock a re-airing of today's Buffalo News. Stay with us. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability